Happy 2026. This is my first episode of the new year. My name is Amber, and this is a Lovely Yarn podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. So I realize January is typically all about New Year's resolutions and just like reinventing yourself, but that is not how this girl works. This is not my time to thrive. This is also not my time to completely revamp my life. That happens more in end of March, beginning of April timeframe. So I am just having a super chill podcast episode today. I am not talking about any of my 2026 knitting or life intentions because I'm just chilling out. I live in Western Pennsylvania. For those of you who are new here, we have very gray, sunless winters. The days are very short. It is cold out. It's either snowing or raining, or it's brown and muddy. Who knows? And so that's just not my time to thrive. And so this video, I just want to sit down and chat with my friends, with my knitting friends. I'm not going to have high knitting energy where I'm going to tell you everything I'm going to knit this year, because that's not going to happen today. But I do have some really beautiful, cozy, exciting projects that are just bringing me a lot of joy right now and filling my heart. And I'm really trying to just settle into just enjoying the process of feeling the fiber between my fingers and sitting in my house all warm and cozy as I see either the snow falling or the rain coming down, and enjoying some wonderful knitting podcasts or just some music or an audiobook playing in my ear as I do all of this. I have come to the conclusion as a 46-year-old woman, and actually I've come to this conclusion over the last probably 5 years, that this is okay. If you don't feel like going crazy with energy right now and trying to figure things out for your upcoming year, it's okay. It totally is. You can join me. Just enjoy your knitting. Enjoy your knitting and enjoy some slight hibernation throughout these winter months. So as a knitting podcaster, I often feel a pressure, and it's not even a pressure other people put on me, really. It's just like this pressure to constantly produce items that I can show to you. But that's also it's not a sustaining practice. And so I almost didn't film today because although I have 2 new projects since I last spoke with you at the end of December, I have not really made a lot of progress on the other projects I showed you besides my Felix. I do have my Felix cardigan. I've gotten quite a bit done on that. But sometimes I just feel like if I don't have a ton of new progress to show you and share with you, then I'm wasting your time. But I just want to get on here and just chat with my knitting friends, talk about what I'm working on. I have no finished objects, but I have 3 whips I want to talk about. I want to talk about a couple podcasts that I have been enjoying that are, I believe they're both smaller podcasts, and they're newer podcasts to me anyway. And just let's just chat. So, oh, I should tell you, I am wearing a ranunculus. I have many ranunculi sweaters because it's one of my favorite patterns. It is my most repeat knitted garment pattern. And this was made using a fingering weight held double with a mohair with a lace weight mohair. And I knit this using, I believe it was size 8 needles, US 8, which I can't think off the top of my head what that is in millimeters, so I apologize for that. And I've never knitted a ranunculus with a size US 10. I always knit it off gauge. But yeah, I think this one looks really good. It's got the full length sleeves and it looks really good over this denim shirt. I also just wear it on its own, but I am wearing it with the denim shirt on. And I have my new earrings that match perfectly. Brad got me these for Christmas. And these are made by Samantha of Sam Jam Creative. I have so many earrings of hers. I've linked her shop in my description before, and I will try to remember to do that again. But she is a local clay artist who makes polymer clay earrings. Okay, so let's talk about my Felix first. I'm so excited about this. This is going to be another one of those sweaters that's going to, it's actually the cardigan version. It's the Felix cardigan by Amy Christophers. And I've knit this pattern before. Oh no, I am in the middle of a row. I need to pause and finish this so that I can properly show you what I have done since I last spoke with you. So I'll be right back. Okay. I need my needle stoppers so that I do not drop those stitches because I have it on a cord that's just a bit too small. I think I have needle stoppers in here. No. They're in my other container. Okay. Isn't this a beautiful wooden, it's a wooden box. I thrifted this for $1, maybe 6 years ago, and I keep like my extra knitting notions in it that I don't have in one of my regular little containers that I throw in my project bags. But I want to put some stoppers on that because I want to be able to spread it out without actually knocking the stitches off the cable. Here we go. I found some. Okay, so as I said, this is the Felix cardigan. This is my second time knitting this pattern, and I've also knit many, I don't even remember how many at this point, of the Felix pullover. It's a very simple pattern. I personally think it would be fine for a beginner, although I have heard, like some of my knitting friends in real life as well as online, I've heard that it can be a little tricky as a beginner because you're working the lace detail at the raglan sleeve at the same time that you're doing the short rows. So I get it, but I don't find that difficult. And I have been knitting for a long time, but I think that you could totally get it if you just pay attention. Okay. There are way more challenging sweaters that I've heard people knit as their first sweater pattern. This is not a challenging sweater pattern. You just have to pay attention during the short rows, which I honestly have to pay attention when I do short rows anytime. But here we go. This is what I have so far. I think this is going to be a good red color for me. It's more of on the like berry red color spectrum rather than, so it's got more of like the purplish undertones or blue undertones, I guess it would be, rather than the orangey red ones, which it would definitely be more in my color wheel for everything. Although, like, can you see? So my daughter Lily, she just cut my hair, and I am growing out my gray for those of you who are new here. And it's interesting to see my color. I think I'm still going to stay a soft summer because of my blue eyes, and I definitely have ashy natural hair. I mean, it's gray, but it's the brown that's there is very ashy. And then this dyed portion has all faded to this coppery color, and so it's very warm toned. So I've been keeping my hair pulled back more because it's less obvious. It's less like the change. But anyway, I think this is going to be a great color. And I've just been so much enjoying this. I started this in December. I've been wanting to knit this Felix in this yarn for the last at least 3 winters, every December. And this one, because I had the flu and was sick all month and wasn't going anywhere to do anything, I had more time than normal. So I made it happen. I cast this on at some point in December. It was like later in the month. Maybe it was right before Christmas, actually. But I am really enjoying it. I'm knitting the smallest size. I thought I was going to knit the second size, but then once I started, I decided to knit the smallest size. And the nice thing about this pattern, as I mentioned in my last video, is that you don't have to choose a size until you are like through this portion. So you can actually use your sweater as your gauge swatch, and then you can choose your size. Now, is that the most correct way to do it? No, it's not. But for those of us who do not like gauge swatches, this is a very nice alternative for that. The one thing, I don't have a lot to talk about with this because I talked about it in my last episode, and it's a very straightforward pattern and sweater. But you know, I love the little raglan lace increases, and that is on both sides of the sleeve cap. And oh, I wanted to say, so I don't know about every time, but I think the majority of the times when I knit a cardigan, I will slip the first stitch of every row instead of like knitting or purling, because you're working back and forth. So you're knitting a row and then you're purling a row. So instead of just starting with my knit stitch or my purl stitch, I will slip the first stitch, either knitwise or purlwise, because then it gives this nice line. Hold on, I gotta get it to focus. Focusing? It makes it way easier when I have to go back and pick up stitches to do my button bands. So I just wanted to mention that's how I prefer to do it, because it's just easier than to pick up stitches. So what do we got going on here? So I'm going to finish this body, and I think I'm getting to the point very soon where I'm going to start the ribbing on it. I need to try it on. I just haven't done that yet. I'm going to have to, yeah, I just need to try it on. And I do have to keep in mind that it's going to grow a little bit with blocking, but I don't want this to be a cropped sweater. I don't want it to be super long either. So I think I'm just going to try it on with a couple of the shirts that I'm going to be most likely to wear it with, including like this denim shirt and a couple of other shirts that I was thinking of, and then decide on the length from there. But so once I figure that out, I'll start the ribbing, and then I'll have to do the sleeves, of course, and then the collar. I still need to put the collar on. That is put on later in the pattern. You don't start with the collar. And I don't have a lot to say with this. I'm using Brooklyn Tweed Shelter in the Long Johns colorway. And I'll say it again, most people probably know, but Brooklyn Tweed no longer manufactures yarn. But if you really like this colorway, you probably can still find it in like stashes, maybe on Ravelry. So far, I've used 3 whole skeins. And each skein has, let me get it here. So this is Targhee and Columbia wool is what the tag says. So each skein has 140 yards. I have used almost 3. This is what's left of my third one. I have 6 skeins of this because I tend to, well, I bought this for a different pattern originally. And then I'll tend to overbuy by a skein because I've run out of yarn knitting sweaters before, and then I have to wait to get the yarn. And the very first time that happened to me, the yarn that I ordered was in the UK. So I had to wait like several weeks, probably 2 weeks. And then I just really lost momentum on that sweater. And then it took a while for me to pick it back up again. So I do tend to, I feel like I'd rather have an extra skein than have to order another one. It kind of stinks because then you're paying for an extra skein, but I figure I can always use it, or I can try to resale it in the future if I decide I don't want that for anything else. So I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say about this. Just, I'm really, really enjoying the simplicity of this. I have had multiple people reach out and ask me about the Eurus sweater, if I had started that yet. That's the very complex looking side to side sweater. I forget the designer name. I will put that information down below. But I bought yarn and the pattern to knit that for my daughter, Lily. And I looked at the charts and the pattern, and I felt very intimidated by it. And I have shared this in one of my past episodes. And then I just kind of didn't talk about it again. And so multiple people have reached out and been like, hey, what's going on with that sweater? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Several people also sent me podcast suggestions from other knitting podcasters who had knit that pattern and had discussed it. So I did watch a couple of those. So thank you guys so much. And I am sad to say that multiple people have had issues with that pattern. I can't remember if what the particular pattern or what the problems were. But after watching that, I was like, oh, do I really want to knit a pattern that I'm going to have to really... I think it was Beth Stone. I watched hers, and she's also a designer. So she said that it's kind of annoying when you have to figure out what a pattern designer is trying to tell you to do and then reconfigure things. And I remember feeling that way when I was knitting the sleeves of my Ingrid sweater, which is a petite knit pattern. And I don't know why I could not get those. So that is an all over textured pattern, the Ingrid sweater, and it also has it going down the sleeves. And I loved knitting the body of that. But then when I got to the sleeves, my numbers weren't matching as I was decreasing. And she wasn't, in my opinion, overly clear on how to incorporate the decreases with the textured stitches. And so I remember I had to fudge my way through both of those sleeves, and I was so frustrated, and it makes me never want to knit that pattern again. And so I don't know that I want to go into another pattern where it sounds like a lot of it could potentially be that way. So I have been kind of looking around on Ravelry for a pattern that is similar. So Lily loves the big oversized. She loved the cables, but she also just really likes the highly textured looks. So I did just come across one the other day. I have no recollection of the name of the pattern. I hope I saved it to my Ravelry favorites, but I don't even know that I did that. But if I did, I will put the picture of it up here and link it down below. It's not cables, or at least there may be some cables in it, but it's more of a very highly textured sweater. And so I feel like that, and I believe it's knit top down, and I think it might even be a raglan, but that is more like what I enjoy. I don't enjoy overly complicated knitting patterns unless they're well written. If I have to sit there and figure things out or recalculate math, all that stitches and stuff, that is not why I knit. I don't need to use that part of my brain in my knitting. My knitting is supposed to be my enjoyment and relaxation time. So I don't know. I feel bad because Lily originally saw the Euro sweater in Magpie Knits yarn store in Charlottesville, Virginia when we were there last year, and she absolutely fell in love with it. And I bought the yarn and the pattern all as a surprise for her. And then I ended up telling her because I thought I want to be able to fit this to her. So I don't want to just knit it and give it to her. I want to knit it, have her try it on, which it's a sideways sweater anyway, so that probably wouldn't work. But anyway, I just kind of feel bad. I want to make sure whatever sweater I knit for her, she really loves it. So that still has not been tackled. And I haven't started Ian's sweater either. I got sick with the flu at the very end of November and was down and out the entire month of December. This is my first week back to my normal routine. And so I didn't want to start anything new or where I possibly had to think. I mean, I've knit this before, so this doesn't count. I knew what was coming with this one. So yeah, those two sweaters have not happened yet, but I'm gonna knit a sweater for Lily and I'm gonna knit a sweater for Ian. I just need to decide. Well, I know I'm gonna knit the single malt sweater by Max. I always forget his last name. Oh my gosh. Anyway, and I have the yarn. Just need to figure out the pattern for Lil's. Okay, so next, let's talk about this. This is another. I feel like all of my knits right now are really just filling me up with joy and cozy warmth. All right, so I had leftovers from my Woolens and Nosh 2026 socks advent, and it's a self-striping yarn. And so I had talked about potentially knitting either shorty socks or doing a pair of fingerless mitts with those. And I had mentioned a couple of patterns for fingerless mitts that I was looking at. And then you guys gave me some pattern recommendations as well. The two biggest recommendations were Point Edwards mitts and then the Pioneer gloves. So the Pioneer gloves is like an all over ribbed fingerless mitt pattern, and then the Point Edwards mitts are a like only ribbing on this on the wrist, and then it's stockinette, and then you've got a big section of ribbing here that you can fold down or keep up. Okay, so I was talking to Lily last week. Her birthday is the beginning of February. And I was trying to get some ideas of some gifts. We don't like go all out with birthdays in our family as far as gifts go. But we were talking, and she mentioned how she would really love another pair of fingerless mitts. So the one pair that she wears now are a pair that I knit. It's a pattern by Fox and Folk. I can't remember the pattern name, but it's a colorwork mitten, and it's I think I showed it in one of my Vlogmas episodes. But so if I'll try to look that up and stick it down below as well. I better write this down. I'm going to forget all these things because I don't remember things unless I write them down. Okay, so anyway, we kind of share that pair of fingerless mitts, and then I have two other pairs. But Lily said, Mom, as a photographer, because, okay, she's in cosmetology school. She actually graduates next week, which yay. And then she also does photography as her main source of income. And she said, fingerless mitts are perfect for photography because, you know, I'm outside. She does almost all of her photography outside. And she said, now, you know, in the dead of winter, fingerless mitts, I mean, they would still help. They'd be better than nothing. But she's thinking most of her sessions are like in the fall. Like she does a lot of outdoor fall sessions. And she said fingerless mitts would be perfect because they're still going to give me some warmth, but I'm going to be able to use my fingers. And so I thought, okay. So I said, we'll go to my stash of yarn and pick out a color or a yarn that you like, and I will make it work. I will find a pattern that works for that. So she went and she was looking at my fingering weight yarn, and she found a skein that I had received. I did the Farmer's Daughter Fibers Sock Squad last year, and that's where she would send you one skein of yarn plus a mini, so a sock set every month of the year. And she chose the one that, this is their logo. She chose the yarn that was the Elkhorn sock base, which is 80% superwash Punta Arenas merino and 20% nylon. And I will show you, I already have it in balls. I actually wound this up by hand, which I don't typically do, but I did because I didn't feel like getting my ball winder out. Plus, I wanted to be able to more easily measure out. So I just got my little kitchen scale out and I measured it out in grams so that I knew that I had enough. Because what I'm doing is I'm holding the yarn double, and I decided to knit the Point Edwards mitts. And oh, they're so cozy. I am like, now I just want to knit 10 of them. I have a lot of fingering weight yarn. That's all fingering weight. This basket has stuff underneath it, but like probably this top layer and then maybe a couple more, that's fingering weight too. So that's my fingering weight stash. And I think I bought most of it to make socks, and that is because I used to be like a huge sock knitter. I'm not as much anymore. I prefer garments. I'm more of a garment knitter now. And so a lot of this sock yarn, almost everything in there, has just kind of been hanging out and waiting for me to incorporate into a shawl or decide I want to make a pair of socks. But Lily picked this yarn, And wait, did I say the color name? It is Sights on the Horizon. So it's got like these blues and then the creamy white color. And I have the first one pretty far along. So I ended up doing a 2x2 ribbing. The pattern calls for a 1x1 rib, twisted rib, but I wanted it to really cinch in on her wrist. So I did this 2x2 ribbing, and then I followed the pattern for this part, but I made the thumb. I did one less increase round on the thumb than the pattern called for. And now I am working on, I'm doing 2x2 again. Pattern calls for 1x1 twisted, but I like how it cinches in and it's tight. And so I will probably do, well, I'm just kind of like trying it on. Lily's hands are a little bit smaller than mine, but you can see where we are now. So I could stop right there, but I want to actually make it longer so she could flip it down or she could fold it back, which is what the pattern is intended with how it's written. But holding this fingering weight yarn double, because this pattern is a DK weight pattern and you're to knit it on size US 4, which is I think 3.5 millimeter, but it's just so squishy. I love it. It's so, she's gonna love these. She is gonna, I mean, they're soft. She's gonna love them. I'm so excited to finish them. And so she, like I said, she graduates next Wednesday. So it's Friday. So she's got, well, after today, she'll have 3 days left of school. And I'm trying to knit these when she's at school, because I don't, even though she picked out the yarn, she doesn't know what the pattern is that I chose, and like I want it to be a surprise for her. So this, I highly recommend this pattern, but I will say that I will probably always do the 2x2 ribbing rather than 1x1. I just like a tighter cinch, and I don't think the 1x1, especially when you do twisted, because I feel like twisted rib does not cinch in as much as regular 1x1 rib. But yeah, see, it's nice and tight and it's going to block. I just feel like it's going to set there and go under a sleeve better. And then this, I wanted tighter around the hand so that when it folds down, it's nice and snug against her hand and not getting in the way. Yeah, so I really recommend this pattern. And I'm so thankful to those of you who said, hey, try this pattern. And it was funny because when I went and looked it up, I had already had it saved in my favorites, but it was probably from a while ago. And so like I didn't remember. Oh, and that is a free pattern, by the way. And it is for one size, but I feel like if you're comfortable with adjusting, that you could adapt that to fit different sizes. And it's a free pattern. So you're not really losing out if you try it and realize you can't figure it out because you haven't paid for the pattern. Yeah, so great pattern, love it, really happy with how it's turning out. Okay, my last whip that I want to show you guys is a test knit I'm doing for Judy of the Autumn Acorn. And this is a pair of socks using her magic heel technique. These socks, I don't know that they have an official name yet, but I think on our test knit form, it's kind of like zigzag magic heel socks. And she has not been secretive about this, so I am going to talk about them. But I did not show these at all yet because the last time I had talked about it, I hadn't even wound up my yarn. I think I wound my yarn up that night. Let me grab my sock blockers because this magic heel is way different and it's just very strange looking when it's not on a foot. So hold on tight. I'm going to grab my sock blockers. Okay, funny enough, I have 2 of these. I only need 1 though, because I only have the first sock and I don't even have the first sock completely done, but it is getting close to where I'm going to start the toe. But I purchased these little sock, I don't know, it's some sort of like compressed wood, but I purchased this set from Judy when I don't think she makes these anymore. I'm pretty sure it was Judy. And that was a while ago, but anyway. Okay, Judy does have a podcast as well, which is always really cozy. She lives in Vermont, and her house, she lives in like this cabin, and it's, oh my gosh, it's so cute and cozy. And so I'll link her down below. You should check her out. But let me get these on here so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here we are. So this is the inspiration. Like this lace motif is the inspiration for the name, the zigzag, because they're like, it's zigzagging back and forth. This was super fun to knit. I started this the night I wound this up. I did the ribbing, which I think I did 10 rounds of the ribbing. And I think that's what she said to do, actually. This is a test knit, so I always follow it exactly unless I reach out and ask if I can change something. And I didn't reach out, so I didn't change anything. But I just could not stop knitting this, and it was getting late, and I'm like, I need to stop. I need to go to bed. And it didn't even take that long to do because it was so much fun to do this. It's not hard. It's not hard at all. And it was just so much fun. Okay, so this yarn also wound up by hand because, again, did not feel like dragging out my Swift and my ball winder. Usually I do, but also this was still in December and I still wasn't feeling well. And something about sitting down and just winding up a ball of yarn by hand, it just was really soothing to me last month. I did it a lot because I also was doing my button box throw, which I was using mini skeins, and not all of them were all ready to go. Like some of them were in little tiny like hanks or skeins that I needed to make into balls. So I did a lot of yarn winding by hand last month, and it was very soothing for my sick soul. Not my sick soul, my sick body. Okay. Oh, I meant to tell you, this is a color by Sweet Sparrow Yarn Company. And I forget her name, but I don't think I have not seen her around. She used to be really big in the knitting community. I cannot remember her name, but I don't think she dyes yarn anymore. And she used to have a podcast on YouTube, and I don't think she has that either. But this yarn you're not going to find. It'd be highly unlikely for you to be able to find it. So that's kind of a bummer because it is beautiful. It is called Pajama Day. It is superwash merino and nylon in a 75-25 ratio. And it's fingering weight, of course. It's so pretty and speckly. I love speckly yarn. Okay, so as I said, I am going to, I think, oh, this is, okay, I'm going to be starting the decreases now to get the toe going. And I think the toe that Judy, my friend, I have a friend named Jody who's also a knitter and a yarn dyer. Because Judy also dyes yarn, that does natural dyeing with yarn. Just go check her out. Anyway, I think Judy uses a what kind of toe? It might be different. I normally just do toe decreases on either side and then graft the toe shut at the end. So the toe may be a different toe than I usually do. I'm going to do it though. I'm just going to go all out. I've never done this magic heel before. I'm going to do a different toe. We're going to give it a shot. Break out of the habits of what I always stick to, which is a heel flap and gusset. Okay, so my thoughts on this magic heel so far. So I did try this on my foot, and I don't believe I can give it I don't think I'm going to be able to give it like a really accurate opinion of it until I have them done and wear them in shoes. Because the reason I love the heel flap and gusset is because it's very, very structured, so it stays in place on my foot. I don't know if I've heard really good things about this magic heel from other people, that it does stay in place, but I'm not sure yet if I'm going to like it as like to make all my socks with. Now, having said that, I could have easily used a heel flap and gusset with this instead of doing the magic heel. In fact, I think one of the other test knitters asked Judy if she could, and Judy was fine with that. But I wanted to try this magic heel because I've never done it before. So having said that, even if I don't prefer the Magic Heel, this pattern makes it worth buying the pattern. I'm getting it for free, of course, because I'm being compensated for test knitting it. But it's so pretty. It is so pretty. And so I will let you know about how I feel about the Magic Heel. The verdict is not out on that yet because I feel like the time is premature to make that call. I need to finish them and I need to have two and I need to wear them. Because putting them on and trying them on when the toe's not even done yet, it's not a good indication of what I'm really going to think. Okay, so that is all I will say about this. I don't know when Judy's coming out with this pattern. I don't think it'll take long. And she probably did say what her goal is. I just don't remember it. Anyway, what am I knitting these? Oh, US. I think I did. Oh, yes. I did one for this US one. Is that 2.5 millimeter US one? And then she recommends when you do the Magic Heel to go down a needle size or so, because then it helps cinch it in and makes it tighter. So I went down to a US 0 or 2 millimeter needle for everything after this. And I typically knit my entire sock in a US 0, 2 millimeter needle. That's typically how I knit my socks because I like tight socks that hug my feet. Okay, that's all. That's all I'm gonna say. But yes, beautiful cuff. I love that. And it was so much fun to knit that. So unfortunately, okay. This is actually good for you guys because I had this calendar sent to me. And I talked about this back in, gosh, was it October, November? I don't even remember now. And Ariane sent me this, and her name on Instagram and her Etsy shop is The Woolen Bluebird. She is a oil painter and a knitter, and she did this calendar this year called The Year of Shawls. It's for 2026. A beautiful calendar. Not going to talk a lot about it because I really went through it. These are all of the pictures in the back. Anyway, she does still have these available. She sold out, so she ordered more. I just saw, I think it was yesterday on Instagram that she ordered 15 more copies. So I'll link her down below. Go buy yourself one. However, I chose a winner for this giveaway. It's been 2 months at least now. I think it was one of my episodes. It was my episode at the beginning of November, and that person never got back to me. So I'm moving on because we're already in 2026. So someone needs to get this calendar and enjoy it. So I redid the whole random comment pick thingy, and I just use a comment picker online where I can input the URL for the video and it pulls up all of the comments. And so I'm going to put it up here. This is the new winner, and it is Katie Shelton 9442. So Katie, I am going to tag you down below in the video description, or if you're watching, if you could please email me your contact information, like your mailing address. My email is down below in the video description, and get in touch with me so I can get this sent out. This is my copy. The winner's copy is still in the envelope because she tied it up with a cute little ribbon. And so I left that as is, but this is my copy. So please get in touch with me, Katie, and I will get your calendar sent out to you. Now, if for some reason Katie doesn't get back to me within, in the time between this episode and let's say 2 weeks from now, I will redraw a name because somebody needs to get this beautiful calendar. I don't want to hang on to this because I have my own. I don't need a second. And so I want one of you guys because Ariane was very gracious to send me two, one for me to keep and one for me to give away. Let's talk about 2 podcasts that I've been enjoying lately. One of them I've been watching for probably 5-6 months, I would say, and that is Cozy Books and Knits. The host of this podcast is Eleanor, and she is from the English countryside. Actually, both of these podcasts are from I think both of these podcasters are from the UK. They both have British accents anyway. I know that Eleanor is, because she says that in her opening. She lives in the English countryside with her husband and maybe a cat and a dog. I can't remember the details of that. But I find her episodes so very comforting. Between her British accent, for me, I know that if you are in the UK, she's not going to have an accent, but because I live in the United States, she has this lovely British accent, and her podcasting space, it's just so cozy. It's just so cozy. She talks about knitting, and she talks about the books that she's reading, and she's just so lovely to listen to and to watch. So I wanted to send you guys her way. You need to go check her out and see if she's your cup of tea as well. I know that just because I am drawn into a certain podcaster doesn't mean that you are going to be as well. But I feel like if you're watching me, I think I probably watch podcasts that are similar to what my style of living and lifestyle and that kind of stuff. So I always want to point out podcasts that I'm enjoying because, I want to send you their way to check them out as well, because I think you would also enjoy them. Okay, and then the second one is Sarah, and Sarah's podcast is The Knitting Forecast. And I quickly listened to her latest video just to see if she said where she was from, and she didn't, at least not the portion in the beginning that I watched. She may have said it a little bit later. Yeah, so it's The Knitting Forecast, Sarah. I don't know how long she's been podcasting, but she's very new for me. I think I found her in November, and she has 19 episodes up on YouTube. Again, love the accent. I love accents of all kinds. So I really, I really love listening to her. She's the cutest little thing. Again, her podcasting space is also, she has these blue built-in bookshelves behind her. And at Christmas time, she had her Christmas tree off to the side, and it was just so cozy. And she's just really comforting to listen to as well, and also inspiring and adorable. So go check those two ladies out. Eleanor of Cozy Knits and Books and Sarah of The Knitting Forecast. One last thing, this isn't really knitting related, but I just got to share it because I purchased a paper planner this year. I'm so excited. I have always been a paper planner girl until the last 2 years. I've been doing all digital, and I just have missed the paper and pen aspect of planning my days. And so I treated myself to a journal. I spent December, the first half of December, I spent the first 3 weeks of December just kind of researching planners and looking through them and watching reviews of different planners, because I'm very specific in what I want in a planner. I don't want a completely blank canvas. I don't want what are they, the dotted or the bullet journals where it's just a bunch of dots to do your grid. And yeah, no, I don't want that. That's too loose for me. I want to have some direction. And I also want to be able to list out my daily tasks each day, and I want a month at a glance, and I want to be able to do a little bit of goal setting in it, and inward, I have specific things in mind. So there were several that I looked at. I found one that was really interesting to me, but they didn't have the daily option. They did, but the area to write in was really small. And so I thought, no, I don't like that. I'm a checklist girl. I love to write down what I want to get done each day and then check it off or cross it off as I do it. And I didn't feel like I would have enough space for that. Okay, so I ended up getting a planner from a company called Abide. Now, I just want to disclose up front that this is a spiritual it's spiritually focused. Okay. So it's very spiritually focused, particularly in Christian. It has a Christian focus. And so I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. So I want to be upfront. If you don't want that, you're not going to want this planner. But if that is something that interests you, this planner is great in my opinion, because it's not just a daily planner. It helps you, the reason the company's called Abide is because it comes from, it's John, I think, hold on. John 15, where it says, abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself. So the company's name comes from that. Now, the wonderful thing about this is that part of the proceeds that they make, I'm not sponsored by them. They don't even know I'm doing this, but part of the proceeds from each sale goes to a human trafficking organization. So it's an organization that helps to rescue men and women out of trafficking situations. And that is huge for me. Trafficking is such a bad, it's just such a big problem, like past the point that we even know. And so I loved, and this was a $62 planner, but I think it was like half. Don't hold me to that though, because I can't remember. I had flu brain when I was researching this. I just know that part of my money went to support the rescue of human beings out of human trafficking. And that is wonderful. Okay. So if this is something you're interested, if you're looking for a planner, I really like this. Like before you even get into the daily planning stuff, there's a lot of self-reflection questions, and not all of them are spiritual, but some of them are. And then like your vision, you have a paper vision board, brainstorming pages, future goals for the next year, in 5 years, and then someday, and then you have a year at a glance. And then there's just a lot of like pages for you to get intentional about thinking. And then you get into every month has a month at a glance. And then, I love this. So at the beginning of every week, and I didn't do this week because I was still sick. But you get these little things where your top 3 priorities for the week, your routines and habits you want to work on. And then there's 6 different categories of your life. Abide, and that's like your spiritual life. And then restore, what are you going to do for your self-care? Budget, so these are where you put like your financial reflections for the week. Connect, so what relationships do you want to work on? Serve, how are you going to serve God or serve others? And then play, what are you going to do for fun? And then down here is like where you can write your prayer for the week. And then over here is if you take sermon notes. And then at the bottom, so you take your sermon notes here, and then at the bottom, you can write your reflection on what you learned and stuff. And then you get into so this is what my pages look like for this past week. So this is like my intentions and stuff. And then this is my sermon notes. And then this was my daily. So over here is just like a tasks, but I eventually plan on putting like some stickers or washi tape, make this look a little bit prettier. Not really write tasks there, because I write my daily tasks under each day. And then at the bottom, there's a place for you to put down what your meals are going to be for the day. And then gratitude, a little box for you to list your gratitude for each day. So I love it. And then they have like memory verses or scripture verses on a lot of the pages. And then at the end of the year, you do like the year-end reflection. There's a bunch of pages at the back of it to do your year-end reflection. So again, this is, and there's Abide Paper Company. I got the ring bound because I wanted to be able to lie it open flat, but they also have like a, what do you call that? It's like a hardback. This is hardback too, but it's like a book. You know, it has the regular binding. I like this though, because like I said, I just open it up and I'll lay it out on the counter like this. And it just makes it easier for me to write in and everything. But I did want to include that at the end here for those of you who are interested in having planners. I told Brad, I'm going to make 2026 my like back to the 90s year. So the 90s was like my prime time because I was a teenager. I graduated in the 90s from high school. I started college in the 90s. I life, even though at the time I thought it was really stressful, it was actually quite not stressful in the scheme of the things in life that cause us stress as we get older. I miss the lack of digital distractions that existed in the 90s. If you didn't have something to do, you found something to do, which usually consisted of hanging out with friends, going outside, meeting people, reading. I did a lot of reading. Like, you just found something to do. You didn't veg out on your phone. I realized some people vegged out on MTV or whatever. We didn't have cable, so that was not an option for me, nor was I allowed to watch MTV when I was in high school. But yeah, so I just miss that. And I didn't realize at the time the simplicity of that decade. And I know that probably everyone, whatever decade you were in your like young teenage years, you probably look back with fondness on. But I said, I want to really focus this year on just getting back to connecting to life through ways other than digital things. And so like, that's why I really thought I'm just getting the paper planner again. I like it better than the digital stuff anyway. I can look back on the year and look at things. Like, I'm doing it. I want to write more letters to people. I've already sent out 2 letters this year, which was so exciting. Like, I just want to really sink into disconnecting more digitally. And of course, I'm going to use digital things. I'm a podcaster. I love watching knitting podcasts. I listen to a ton of audiobooks, but I also want to read books and hold the book in my hand and, meet with my knitting friends in real life. Like, there's a balance. We live in 2026. So of course our life is going to highly revolve around digital things, most people anyway. And so it's hard to escape that, but there are certain areas that we can control and we can like bring it to a more, I hear the term like an analog life. Yeah. So I don't know. That's what I'm kind of focusing on this year. Just being less on the phone or less distracted by digital distractions, and just thinking back to how did I keep myself busy when I was living as a teenager in the 1990s. So, all right, leave me some comments down below and tell me what you have been up to. Is it the 8th or the 9th? What is today's date? It's Friday. I think it might be the 9th. Yeah. So what have you been up to in the first 9 days of 2026? Are you feeling well? I know a lot of people are getting the flu. That's what I had. We had the superbug. That's what the media is calling it, the superbug. So I hope you're not unwell, but I know a lot of people are unwell right now. And what have you been knitting? Like, let's just have a little bit of conversation. I may not be able to see. I always feel bad about this because I love reading the comments, but sometimes I get overwhelmed and then I can't respond to all of them. I think I responded to all of them from my last video, but the ones prior to that in the Vlogmas episodes, I did not respond to all of those because I just didn't have the energy to do it. And then this week I took several days to sit down and respond to the comments from my last episode. And I tried to go back further with my Vlogmas, but I was like, I'm so overwhelmed. I can't, like, I can read them, but to respond to them is overwhelming me. And it's, but I read them and I love it. Also, thank you. I had multiple people send donations through Ko-Fi in December, and that was such a treat. So thank you guys so much for supporting me and my channel here on YouTube through that. Still saving for a camera, and so because I film on my phone. I've always filmed on my phone, but my goal is to get a little vlogging camera so that I don't have to put all this onto my phone storage. But anyway, what else do I want to say? I think that's it. I just, listen, if you're setting your new year intentions and goals and resolutions, go you. But for those of you who are like me that want to hibernate this time of year, that's okay. That's okay. I'm of the full belief that The animals are slower. All of nature is slower this time of year. Everything kind of slows and sleeps more. And so why wouldn't I be the same? And I know for sure that in March, very beginning of April, I am going to come alive. Every year it happens. It feels like this shroud just like drops. And I am like, yes, I feel good. I have energy. There's buds on the trees. The grass is getting green. It's getting a little sunnier. Days are getting longer. And so I used to feel really bad about the fact that I just didn't feel overly myself or energetic in the winter, but I'm just coming to learn that that's just part of me. So it's okay. Anyway, I should end because I'm looking at my timer. It's 57 minutes I've been talking, and here I thought I was going to get on here today and have like 15 minutes worth of content. So this is going to be a long one. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next one. Oh, and I also, okay, if you've been around, you know I'm not a big Ravelry person as far as tracking my projects. I keep a knitting journal right here. I am coming up with a little bit of it. I'm tweaking my system, and I'm planning on doing a special video all about my knitting journal. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in seeing something like that. I'm really excited about how I'm gonna do this now, and it fits in perfectly with my 90s lifestyle year because we're going back to pen and paper. So friends, thank you so much for joining me here today. And until next time, enjoy your knitting, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.